already an hour into trying to film this video. Am I sat in the place where I thought I was going to sit to film? No. Have I tried recording it several times? Yes. Am I a hot, sweaty mess? Yes. So, I've given up all expectations and now I'm just going to go with what I am doing and hope that this works out. If you know of me, our story, Don't Get Lippy, you may want to just push on and kind of note where the kind of like next season of what's going on picks up. If you don't know our backstory, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to try and make it as concise and quick as possible, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jen. I turned 35 in July, and you may be able to tell that I was born looking slightly differently, much more different to what I look like now. So I was born with a bilateral cleft lip and palate, and that was a total surprise for my parents. And for the majority of my life, anything associated with my cleft, with my appearance, how I sounded, was all negative, and I tried to dissociate from it as much as possible until 2018, when I found out that I was pregnant with my first son, first and only child, Will, who at week 13 of my pregnancy, he was also diagnosed with a cleft lip and possible palates. They couldn't actually tell at that point, although we kind of expected it to be the case for him. If you heard a noise, by the way, that's me moving my foot, not a little trump. Okay, just gonna put that out there. Anyway, so once I'd got over the initial shock and concern and worry and despair, I decided that I was going to document our journey. Obviously I have personal lived experience and knowledge of what being born with a cleft is like and how others perceive you and certain situations, and then because we were putting all this prep work into Will arriving in the world, from colostrum harvesting to additional scans, and then kind of our own personal kind of bits and pieces that were going on, such as we had a spina bifida scare, we had, like, I fell over at one point and hit my stomach. There were lots of various things going on in our personal journey, as well as like the standard kind of cleft journey. So I started to document things and shared our information on Instagram, which very kind of quickly grew. I'm not talking massive, but the people that I was then connecting with were either in the similar journey, they were old friends that were just supporting me. I was meeting people, I was literally chatting to people from Hawaii to Singapore, to people who literally lived over the road from me, who were all interested to know more information or were kind of sharing their experiences, and you know, kind of going like that. Then in September 2018, Will was born by caesarean. He was into NICU for a week. He was subsequently tube fed for his first 6 months, and I documented an awful lot of that in relation to kind of needing to be on high calorie milk because he was born at a really low birth weight and struggled to put weight on, silent reflux, which is the devil, and then kind of prep for surgery. I mean, Will had his 2 first surgeries in 2019, and then we've just kind of shared daily life. I've put my 2 penneth in public kind of documentaries or situations that have occurred that have been cleft related, and Don't Get Lippy has always been very cleft orientated. Don't Get Lippy was a business name by choice, so it was something that was said to me a lot when I was younger, and again always had this negative attachment, but I wanted to start trying like taking control and actually kind of embracing, you know, my situation, my appearance, what have you. And actually it was one of my best friends that said, you know, if you can't have that business name, like, what are you doing? So Don't Get Lippy was a business name by choice. Unfortunately, it did have some negative reactions from people who are cleft affected because it is quite a triggering statement. However, I'm gonna go with it, and I took it on, and then throughout the last few years I've created products. I have a podcast which is very cleft orientated, and I literally get to speak to people in the cleft community who are willing to share their stories. I've spoken to professionals who have literally walked me and, you know, those who listen through, you know, a lip repair, let's say. So, you know, there's been lots and lots of stuff going on. I'm an ambassador for Smile Train UK. Everything's been very cleft orientated, and I love, love, love it. But I will be honest, in the last couple of years, things have changed for us slightly. So if you're not aware, a cleft can affect somebody's ability to breathe, to feed, to speak, to hear, to, I'm sure there's another one, but we'll go with those 4 major ones. So as part of Will's pathway, he's had various hearing tests. He has obviously had his surgeries, and then from 3 this is ironic, from 3 years old he was then into speech and language. So we always knew that his cleft may affect his speech and language, and it's something that I went through when I was younger. And in October 2021 Will had his speech and language assessment. So during that course of 5 sessions, he had his assessment, 3 sessions to kind of help with kind of what's going on, and then a review. And it was at the review session that the speech and language therapist said, would I be comfortable with a referral to a paediatrician for an autism assessment? I wasn't particularly comfortable, but I also, you know, that's my own insecurities, and I said to her if she felt like that was the appropriate thing to do, then so be it. Then those sessions ended, and she did forewarn me that, you know, due to kind of pressure on service and things, the assessment wasn't going to be anytime soon. And she was right. But that also gave us some time to kind of like do our own thing. In, I believe, February time, we also had a speech and language therapy assistant come to the house. I'm sorry if you could hear that noise, that's a dog. So the assistant came to the house, made some recommendations for home. She also went into preschool and made some recommendations for them. And then in June 2022, we had our assessment with a paediatrician for autism. And at that appointment, Will was diagnosed with autism. Now, I'll be honest, it's very strange to be saying it out loud, partly because Don't Get Lippy to me is so cleft orientated that is my comfort zone, and that is where I expected DGL to always be. But as I said at the start, Don't Get Lippy is, I don't think I said this at the start, I think I said it in the other recording, but Don't Get Lippy was always about mine and Will's journey. So this journey is just adding on an extra little pathway. Now I should say at this point, whatever I talk about, however I talk about it, it is in personal reference to us. Whatever I discuss, whatever I say, nothing was ever or will ever be said with any offence intended. So I really hope that that comes across, and this is just me processing things. This is how I want to talk about things currently, and on behalf of Will. And obviously I know that when Will is of age and he wants to talk about things, or if he wants to talk about things, he will then describe things in his own way. So I really hope that comes across, that I'm not saying anything in relation that's going to be misinterpreted. I just really hope that comes across. So Will had his diagnosis and in June 2022, and it's now just literally 1st of August 2022. So we've had a few weeks to kind of acknowledge that diagnosis. But I'll be honest, this diagnosis firstly didn't come as a shock. Secondly, it's been a long time coming, so I've had a lot of time to kind of look at various things and research and kind of look at, you know, so much information that I'm kind of content with where we're at the moment. Trust me, I spent a long time not being. And I'll be totally transparent with you that there have been periods where I thought, I don't know how to help my son, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong or why I don't know how to help him. There would be things that he would do and I would think, you must be getting something out of that, but I have no idea what you're getting from it. And I have no idea why you're reacting in this particular way to this particular situation. And I don't know how to help pull you out of that. So trust me when I say I have been anxiety ridden for probably a good solid 2 years. And of course that fluctuates, and as Will progresses that changes, and as he, you know, does something differently or kind of makes a change in a certain area, you know, my feelings and thoughts change all the time. And now you're probably wondering why I'm now talking about this out loud publicly. Firstly, because there should be no shame attached to this sort of condition. A neurological difference in any aspect, whether that is depression, schizophrenia, autism, none of this should be feared. And by talking out loud and sharing our story, I just hope that it helps the next person, or helps somebody feel less alone. Much like us sharing our Cleft story, it's just that I'm now sharing a living experience of this situation as opposed to a lived experience, which again is why I just want to make sure that none of this comes across in an offensive way, or terminology is said incorrectly, or how somebody else would not view it, because I'm only doing what I feel comfortable doing at the moment. But I've shared our story up until now, so I might as well share the rest of it. Why not? And I've also kind of decided that, like I said, I've just turned 35, and now I'm like, right, why am I here? Like, there must be something about me sharing our story that I'm meant to be doing. And now that I'm going to go off on a tangent, I'll stop myself. So going forward, I hope those who are in the Cleft community that have followed us up until now are still going to stick with us and maintain these kind of connections that we've made, because I genuinely, like, literally I could cry from the kind of like experiences that I've had over the last few years with people. So I really hope you guys stick around. I really hope that we share our story in a way that is, you know, supportive to others or useful, or helps other people feel less alone, because all of these things, like, you've only got to put a group of 10 people together and everyone's got something going on, and I think the more open we are about these sorts of things, the less fear there is, the less anxiety there is, the less embarrassment maybe, because like I said, you know, to feel like you don't know your own child is a really scary place to be, and thankfully I feel on the other side of that now, and I feel more settled in our possible journey going forward. So I do feel so much better. So I really hope that by sharing what we're sharing benefits the next person. Anyway, again, I've kind of like backtracked and, you know, going forward, like I say, I hope the Cleft community stick with us. I hope that we get to meet new people, and yeah, basically I'm just hanging out at home, so I think, you know, why not chat to you guys? So I hope to be more present on here. I hope to be more present on Instagram. I really hope to like pick up my podcast, because that is just, I just love doing that. And yeah. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, because that's my hope, is to be able to like pull this audio, thanks for listening. And if you're watching, thank you for watching. And if you're just hanging out on Instagram, I'll probably see you there. I spend an awful lot of time over there. I'll see you very soon.